تفضل.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ما بعد. So we continue with the third class from Umdah At-Taalib, the book of fasting, Kitab al-Siyam. We stopped last week on قال المصنف رحمه الله وإنه الإفطار أفطر. If a person intends to break fast, they make the niyyah to break the fast, then the fast is broken. If they intend to break the fast, even if they didn't eat, even if they haven't eaten anything, but the intention is when I get to such and such place, I'm breaking the fast. That their fast is broken due to the fact that they have broken their niyyah. They've cut off the niyyah of continuing the fast. طيب. The next mas'ala, the next issue, is for the person, as he says, وَمَنْ قَالَ إِنْ كَانَ غَدٍ مِنْ رَمَضَانَ فَفَرْضِي. A person says, if tomorrow is Ramadan, then that is my obligatory fast for Ramadan. If tomorrow is Ramadan, then that's my obligatory fast. طيب. The niyyah is, if tomorrow is Ramadan, then that's my obligatory fast for Ramadan. A person can say this in two different places. There's two times a person can say this. طيب. When would a person say, if tomorrow is Ramadan, then that's my Ramadan fast. I'm fasting Ramadan tomorrow.
30th night of Shaban.
Right, the 30th night of Shaban. The month previous before Ramadan is not in yet. So the 30th night, which means 29 days passed already in Shaban, that means the next day could possibly be Ramadan. So a person may say, if tomorrow is Ramadan, then I'm fasting. Which means, up until this point, they haven't been fasting Ramadan. Because we're not fasting Ramadan in Shaban. Shaban is a different month, it's not Ramadan. So they haven't been fasting. But they say, if tomorrow's Ramadan, then that's my fast for Ramadan. And what's the other time that a person can say this? If tomorrow's Ramadan, then this is my fast for Ramadan.
Comes in during the day, on Saturday night.
If it comes in during the day, we know it's Ramadan. Right? So I don't have to say if tomorrow. You with me? We know in the beginning, if it's Sha'ban, the month before Ramadan, the next day, after 29 days, the next day could be Ramadan, it might not be. So a person might say, if tomorrow is Ramadan, then I'm fasting my obligatory fast for Ramadan.
Once Maghrib come out?
For when?
Once you pray the salat. Once you pray, like we see today. So
at the end of Sha'ban, if you're talking about at the end of the month before Ramadan, that's one time. Like the month we in now, we do 29 days in this month. Then somebody says, if tomorrow's Ramadan, I'm fasting.
that's why you make the intentions like after, say Ramadan started today, the day one, the day two. After Maghrib, you will have your intentions for tomorrow.
Right, but that's not the issue. The issue is, I'm not sure if Ramadan is tomorrow or not. All right, which could happen in two places. Either the month we in now, Sha'ban, at the end of this month, right, after 29 days is possible, the next day could be Ramadan.
If you sight the moon.
If the moon is sighted, then it's Ramadan. All right, like, forget this time. What's another time that a person might say, if tomorrow is Ramadan, then that's my obligatory fast?
30th day.
30th day of what?
Shaban.
That's what we already said. This is Shaban. Either at the beginning of Ramadan or at the end of Ramadan. At the end of Ramadan, right? Ramadan is either how many days? 29 or 30. 29 days go by, right? Which means we fasted 29 days, which means tomorrow could be the Eid. A person could say, if tomorrow's Ramadan, then that's my obligatory fast. Just like they said before Ramadan. Clear? You with me? There's two possible times. One time is during Ramadan where we've been fasting all month. And they say, well, if tomorrow's Ramadan, it's my obligatory fast. The other time is before Ramadan even started. Like right now, Ramadan didn't start. At the end of this month, we say, well, listen, we done did 29 days. If tomorrow's Ramadan, then tomorrow's my obligatory fast. Clear? He says, if a person says this, if tomorrow's Ramadan, then this is my obligatory fast, lam yasih, that day of fasting is not accepted from him. Except in one of those two cases. Except in one of those two cases. Illa layla thalathin min Ramadan. The first case, we said what? It was before Ramadan, Sha'ban, which means we're not fasting. The second case means we did the whole Ramadan fasting, and then at the end of Ramadan, we said what? If tomorrow's Ramadan, then I'm fasting. They say the one at the end of Ramadan, if a person says that, then that is accepted. Why? Why can I say in Ramadan at the end 29 days went by, and then I can say, if tomorrow is Ramadan, then that's my obligatory Ramadan fast.
Then the moon wasn't sighted.
The moon wasn't sighted.
Yeah, just say that it's 29. If I say if tomorrow's, if I'm gonna say the next day means that I look for the moon, or whoever looked for the moon, it wasn't there, so that.
Like, let's just say I didn't get word on the moon sighting yet. But still, I'm saying, listen, if tomorrow's Ramadan, I'm fasting Ramadan. Right?
It's a full 30.
It
means it's a full 30.
It doesn't mean it's a full 30. The point is this, for example, we did 29 days during Ramadan, right? Like, that means tomorrow could be their Eid. We waiting on the moon sighting. Right? So let's say, generally, we usually get the word around Maghrib. No, not. We usually get the word around Dhuhr. Something like that. It's like around Dhuhr, we don't get word. Asr, we don't get word. We wait. A person says at this point, listen, if tomorrow's Ramadan, I'm fasting Ramadan tomorrow. Right? They say this is accepted. If they fast like this, then this is fine. Or Isha, or I'm sorry, Maghrib, we still don't get word. We don't get word yet that the moon has been sighted. So I say, after we break our fast, if tomorrow's Ramadan, I'm fasting. Why? They say لأنه بنى على أصل لم يثبت زواله. Because the intention is built off something that is, the asl is, what time is it? It's Ramadan. That's the origin, that is Ramadan. In order for tomorrow not to be Ramadan, something has to remove us off of that asl. Clear? Tayyib again. We've been fasting the whole month of Ramadan, which means we know it's Ramadan. In order for us to say it's not Ramadan anymore, we need something to do what? We need something to tell us it's not Ramadan. Sighting of the moon in the 30 days.
What was the Arabic terminology for it?
It says the asl. The asl, the origin of this month that we in is that it's Ramadan. That means tomorrow is still Ramadan until what? Until the moon is sighted. So I say after Maghrib, I say, listen, tomorrow's Ramadan, I'm fasting. You can do that. Why? Because the asl is that it's already Ramadan. Whereas though before Ramadan, if we said it like in the month we're in now, Sha'ban, we were never fasting. So you can't say if tomorrow's Ramadan. You have to enter the month with yaqeen, certainty. Tayyib? Tayyib. That's the last issue in that chapter. The next chapter, Bab ma yufsid as-sawm, the things that break the fast. The things that break the fast. And the first issue is based on the ulama differ. And we won't go too deep into that, the khilaf, but we'll just mention it because you might read one book that says that you can do this and another book says you can't. طيب قال رحمه الله يفسد الصوم من أكل أو شرب أو استعطى أو احتقن أو اكتحل بما وصل لخلقه أو أدخل جوفه شيئا من أي محل كان. طيب, the first thing that he mentions, rahimahullah, in the chapter, the things that break the fast. These are all examples. The difference is this. He says, whoever eats, whoever drinks, Or he says ista'ta, which is to take medicine through the nose. Whoever takes medicine through the nose while they're fasting. Right? Eating, drinking, taking medicine through the nose. Right? He says, oh, ihtaqana. Or somebody who takes an injection, or let's say an enema, right? An injection through the anal, medicine, treatment. They have to get treatment, right? You with me? Oh, iktahala. Or, you know the kuhl that people use on the eyes, the sisters use on the eyes, sometimes brothers use it on the eyes. Sunnah, right? That kuhl, whoever does this, right? He says, bima wasala ila halqihi. Any of those things that a person does, number one, and that whatever they're using, it enters their throat, right? Or a person enters anything into their body, to their insides. And the law that they say is that it goes down the throat, or it reaches the stomach, or the brain, as things can be sniffed through the nose to the brain. This group of scholars, they say anything. It doesn't have to be food. To them, it doesn't have to be food. Anything that enters the body and it reaches one of those places, then it breaks the fast. Clear? Now, all scholars don't agree with that. Some say no. So this one is a difference of opinion. Some say what? To make it real simple, anything that enters the body, through your mouth, through your nose, you're taking an injection, you're doing something that gets into one of these places, right? From a manfith, a shakl, and then they differ on what type of opening it has to go through. Generally, anything that goes inside breaks the fast. It don't have to be food. It don't have to be something that you nourish your body with. It doesn't have to be water or juice or something that you actually getting some taste from. This is one. Others say no. If it's food, specifically food or drink or something like that, then it breaks the fast. That's the khilaf. All of those that he mentioned right there fall under entering the body. These are just different examples used. Clear? Question?
Yeah. What's the strongest opinion?
The strongest opinion? The strongest opinion is with the strongest opinion is not mine. It ain't my call on that. Because the strongest opinion to one scholar is not the strongest opinion to another scholar. You with me? The strongest opinion is based on the dalil, what I see, or the nazar, the scholar, the person who's able to extract benefit. They look at the dalil, and based on his level, he sees this to be the strongest. That's why when you read the book, this sheikh says this and this sheikh says that. To him, this is the strongest opinion. To him, no, that's a weaker opinion, and this is the strongest. You can say a safe opinion, but safe doesn't mean strongest all the time. Safe doesn't necessarily mean it's the strongest. The safest thing is to do what? Don't put anything inside of your body. That's safe. There's no argument in that. But now the issue comes in certain medicines, right? The issue comes in, well, what if I need methadone? Some of the ulama allow asthma pumps, right? Something goes in the body. So that's where the khilaf. Anything that goes in the body, does it go all the way in? Does it reach this area of the body? Does it go, where does it gets intricate. But generally, the safest opinion is nothing goes in the body while you're fasting. That's safe. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the strongest. That's just you out of the gray area. Anything outside of that, if a person has an issue specifically, then that's a case-by-case situation. You know what I'm saying?
I'm trying to understand the cold again.
The kohol.
Yeah. How is it getting inside?
As certain types of kohol, if you never use certain types of kohol, they seep into. They seep in.
Okay.
That's why they say anything. Others say, no, it's not food, it's not drink, it's not nourishing the body. That's where the argument comes in. Which one is stronger? Allah Alam. Based on the author, nothing should go in the body. Just based on the author's opinion. Now you might read another book, another scholar sees and does something else to be stronger, and that bets. Like he says, oh, it's taqa'a. The second thing that's mentioned that breaks the fast is a person who intentionally vomits, wants to throw up. They make themselves vomit intentionally. Not if you fast and you got a weak stomach, you smell something and then it makes you throw up a vomit. Not that person. The one who intentionally vomits, as the Prophet ﷺ said, لقوله صلى الله عليه وسلم من استطاع عمدا فليقضي حسنه الترمذي. That the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever intentionally vomits, causes himself to vomit or throw up, then they have to make the day up. Hadith is in At-Tirmidhi. That's the second thing. He says, أو استمنى أو باشر فأمنى أو أمذى. This is, you with me? Now the things that he's mentioning are not mentioned due to the fact that they are necessarily permissible. Not that it's permissible to do, right? But if a person does this, what happens to their fast? The first one is istimna, the person who masturbates during the day of Ramadan. The one who masturbates during the day of Ramadan, fa'amna, until they ejaculate, male or female, right? Or they masturbate during the day of Ramadan and they don't ejaculate, but there's the pre-semen. Either one, because a person may assume that since it's not sex, that it doesn't hold the same rule and it's not going to break the fast. No, the person who masturbates until they ejaculate or the pre-semen breaks the fast. Number one. Or the one, the man or the woman, who bashara, they're feeling, they might just be touchy-feely with their wife or with their husband, right? During the day of Ramadan, until they until they ejaculate. They're playing, touching each other until they ejaculate during the day. It breaks the fast. Oh, amda. It says, oh, amda, that also, or they pre-ejaculate from touching, breaks the fast. He says, oh, basha dunal farj, meaning they don't have to necessarily have intercourse for the fast to be broken. In this case, they're touching until they cause someone to ejaculate. And then they differ on the touching. If the pre-ejaculation breaks the fast, that's an issue that they differ on. What's the strongest? What's the safest? Abstain from it. Abstain from your wives. You know, the wives abstain from nothing during the day of Ramadan. Because if that's the case, it's a bigger problem that comes with that. It's a bigger problem that comes with that later. The safest thing is to stay away from it. We're not talking about a person coming in the house, you know, giving their wife a kiss on the forehead and keep going about their business. We're talking about, you know, playing. Right? The next thing, it says, "Oh, qarrar al-nazar fa'amna." Or the person, the difference is in this one. So the touching, whether they ejaculate or pre-ejaculate, breaks the fast. This one is where the difference comes in as far as the ejaculation or the pre-ejaculation. Either qarrar another. The man keeps looking at his wife, and he looks at her again, or he looks at her again, he looks at her again until he ejaculates. And it breaks the fast. Or the woman does the same thing. Then it breaks the fast. And what if now they differ? What if they do that? They keep looking, and it's pre-ejaculation. Now they differ if it breaks the fast or not. But again, the safest thing is to avoid all of it, to stay away from all of it. Tayyib? Clear? Tayyib. And remember, this is a pillar. Fasting Ramadan is a pillar, so it's not something we should play with as far as I just make the day up. No, it's not. I'm gonna just make it up on this one. I ain't, man. So, right? It's a pillar, right? You need a valid reason. Not fasting during the day of Ramadan without a valid reason from the major sins. It's not something I'm gonna just make it up on the, you know. No, it's a pillar that we need a valid reason not to fast. We need a valid reason Islamically not to be fasting during the day of Ramadan. And this is why, even out of respect and ihtiram and honor for the time, the month itself, that time of the month, that time generally, is that they say even the person who comes from fasting, and they might have the excuse, they come off of travel, that they should still refrain from eating during the day, out of respect for the month. طيب, the next one that breaks the fast, he says, أو حجم أو احتجم وظهر دم, or the person who does the hijama, who cups, you know, drawing the blood, who cups someone, if you're doing the cupping, or if you're getting cupped, and blood is extracted. وظهر دم, and blood comes out, that this also breaks the fast. لقول رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أفطر الحاجم والمحجوم. The Prophet ﷺ said, a hadith is recorded by Imam Ahmad and At-Tirmidhi, rahimahumullah, that the fast is broken for the one who does the cupping and the one who gets cupped during the day of Ramadan. طيب, he says all of these things that were mentioned, all of those things that were mentioned, he says, عَامِدًا ذَاكِرًا لِصَوْمِهِ. If a person does any of those things intentionally, knowing that they're fasting Ramadan, right? Intentionally, ذَاكِرًا, knowing that they're fasting Ramadan, which excludes who? Who doesn't count? Huh?
Elderly children.
Elderly children?
One who doesn't have a sound intellect.
That's him. The one who does any of those things intentionally, which excludes who? Huh? Yeah, the one that's unintentional. That's why they mentioned, earlier they mentioned these words like that because it removes another person, right? Amidan intentionally removes the person who didn't do it intentionally. No, who didn't do it intentionally? They forgot or? Huh?
They didn't know Ramadan was in.
The person forgot that they were fasting or?
Tasting.
Traveling?
They like got
Huh, sisters? Huh?
medication diabetes or something.
They're getting cups. So.
A person forgot. They forgot it was Ramadan. They wake up in the middle of the day, they might have been in a deep sleep, they woke up, they forgot it was Ramadan.
Okay.
Right? So the person that forgets is not included, and who else?
What a person that God do like they gotta take blood because they want.
No, they have a reason. They got a reason. They ain't forget. They just have a valid reason to take their medicine. They got medicine they got to take. The person, they either forgot or
Mental issue.
the mental, he's not even held accountable.
Yeah, right.
Huh?
Woman,
We already said unintentional. If she don't admit this, then she got an excuse. Alhamdulillah, we don't have this problem. The second problem. A person could forget, or a person could be forced.
Oh, okay.
A person could be forced to do one of these things. Like they were saying the Muslims in China. Right? They've been forced to eat during the day of Ramadan. طيب. عمدا, intentionally, ذاكرا لصومه, which amdan intentionally removes the person that does it out of forgetfulness. And it also, he says, لا ناسيا, not the one who forgot, ولا مكرما, or لا مكرها, not the person who was forced. If a person is forced to do one of these things, it doesn't break their fast. If a person does it forgetfully, it doesn't break their fast. As the Prophet ﷺ said, عُفِيَ لِأُمَّتِي عَنِ الْخَطَأِ وَالنِّسْيَانِ وَمَا اسْتُكْرِهُ عَلَيْهِ, that my ummah is forgiven for the mistake, being forgetful, and being forced to do something. طيب. In the other hadith, when the Messenger ﷺ said, عن أبي هريرة, من نسي وهو صائم فأكل أو شرب فليتم صومه فإنما أطعمه الله وسقاه. That whoever forgets while they're fasting and they eat or drink something, then they should continue to complete their fast because it was Allah who fed them or gave them that drink. طيب. Never from Allah. طيب. Also, it doesn't break the fast. لا إن طار إلى حلقه ذباب أو غبار. If a person is minding their business, walking down the street, wherever they are, and it's summertime, right? A gnat or something flies in their mouth and they swallow it. Right? It happens. So, and they said, what anything that goes in the body breaks the fast. They said, la, this doesn't break the fast. Or dust. Dust. It might not be dusty here, but you'll be surprised. It's dusty in some place. A car ride by, it's dust kicking up. You walking, inhaling dust in the nose and in the mouth. They say this does not break the fast. Why? It wasn't intentional. You walking down the street, somebody smoking a cigarette. As soon as you come out the store, right, you inhale the smoke unintentionally. It doesn't break the fast. It's not intentional. Okay? The things that break the fast are things that are intentional. You know you fasted. You're not forced to do it. You're intentionally going to do it. Right? Things that, as they say here, لِعَدَمْ إِنْ كَانَ التَّحَرُّزْ مِنْ ذَلِكَ. A person is not able to escape it. Right? You roll a window down to get some air and something flies in your mouth. A bug flies in your nose. You end up swallowing it or whatever the case may be. We're not held accountable for those types of things. طيب. It says also, la, because all of these things he says la. Not the one who's forgetful, not the one who's forced, not the one who's something just flies in their throat unintentionally. La aw fakkara fa'anzal. Not the one who's thinking about their wife until they ejaculate. Or the wife is thinking about her husband. Thinking, not touching. Thinking doesn't break the fast. Touching to that point breaks the fast. See the difference? The fikr. طيب. As the Messenger ﷺ said, رُفِيَ لِأُمَّتِي مَا حَدَّثَتْ بِهِ أَنفُسُهَا مَا لَمْ تَعْمَلْ بِهِ. That my ummah has been forgiven for the things that they, how do you translate that? Like, you don't necessarily talk to yourself, but those ideas or thoughts that you might have, right? That we're forgiven for those as long, he said, مَا لَمْ تَعْمَلْ بِهِ. As long as we don't act on them, right? As long as we don't act on them. Everybody with me? Therefore, if a person is touching their wife or the wife is touching the husband and they going on it, right? They did that, they bought that. But he or she might come in the house and they thinking about him, or they're not there and they thinking about him. Right? Right. They're thinking about him. They didn't do anything, but it's a thought. They say, if this happens, then it doesn't break the fast. أو احتلم. أو احتلم. Or the one, like the one who has a wet dream. Right? Nocturnal emission. The one who has a wet dream is not held. It doesn't break the fast. Right? It says the end of that it's not something that they intentionally did. There's no control. No control over it. طيب. It says also أو قطر في إحليله شيئا. Or, and this is another one, if you're using the thing that anything that enters the body, and as the ulama explained, a lot of these things are based on what they understood from the chapter of medicine, how medicine works, how the body works, based on what was understood during that time. If a person has to take medicine, a man has to take medicine through his urethra, through the penis, right? That enters the body, right? They say, nah, it doesn't enter the body. And they have a couple explanations for that. They have a couple explanations for that. He says, but he doesn't expound in this explanation, but in other explanations it's considered that according to the medicine at their time, and this is important because what we can't do is look at the rulings, ahkam of scholars based on what we see today. Some issues are based on the time. So they say that the testicles in general are not connected to the body. Hey, listen. All right? They also have another distinction of, does it actually enter? Is it entering all the way? Is it able to enter all the way? This is based on the medicine at that time. We're not talking about, you can't think about all we need to do is get this machine, it's easy to find out. Because they didn't have that at that time. They're basing the ruling, does it enter all the way? Because the doctors at that time, they say, no, it's a closed area that only opens when the fluid comes out. You dig me? So did it enter into the body to the point that it reaches one of those areas? They say no. Now if you look at it today, and that's not a call that I could make or even Ergomed, they tell you, you got to talk to the doctor. You got to talk to people who specify in the anatomy of the body. How does this work? Does this lead to this or not? A sheikh, a scholar who didn't study the body really is not going to be able to tell you that. They're going to tell you, we got to check with some trustworthy doctors. The people, that's their specialty, we got to check with them, see how it works, and then we can give a hukum from a ruling on the issue. طيب. Also, it doesn't break the fast. أو أصبح وفي فمه طعام فلفظه. The person, they wake up in the middle of the day, or they wake up during the day in Ramadan, and they have food stuck in their teeth or something. Right? So they swallow it. It happens. You say this doesn't break the fast. This doesn't break the fast. طيب. He says, ولا إن اغتسل أو تمضمض واستنشق فدخل الماء حلقة. طيب. He said also not if a person is making a ghusl. Make a ghusl, we make a wudu, right? Wudu, we put the water in our mouth, we put the water in our nose, we sniff it up. Is it possible it can go down? It's possible, real possible. If that happens, is the fast broken? Why not? The intention wasn't to do that. The intention is to make wudu. The intention is to make a ghusl. That's why in the beginning they said, whoever does it intentionally swallowing water, because you're thirsty, you know you're thirsty, you know the whole situation. A person intentionally, that breaks the wudu. A person's making wudu, and they trying to get it, mashallah, a good wudu. So they, as he says in the next part, he says, وَلَوْ بَالَغَ. Even if a person goes like, not extreme, but they intensify the wudu. They intensify the gargling of the water. They take the water, they gargling around, and they swallow some of it. If they do that, number one, is that necessary? When we make a wudu, is it necessary to put the water? Is it necessary? Like, it's not necessary. Like, if a person did that while they were making wudu and they swallowed water,
He's suspect.
break the fast or no?
Based on the intention.
Based on the intention. They didn't intend to swallow it. He says, even if they took it that far to do that and they swallowed the water, it wasn't intentional. The intent is to what? Make wudu. Make a good wudu. Clean the mouth out. Even if you put, not that you put too much, even if they was excessive, yeah, in the wudu. It doesn't break the fast. Oh, zada ala thalathin. Even if they did what? They did more than 3 times. They washed their mouth out 5 times. Break the wudu? La. Right? The stuff has to be intentional. We're talking about things that are done intentional. He says, تقرأ مبالغة في مضمضة واستنشاق لصائم. But it's disliked just to be putting water in your mouth and putting yourself in a situation or going excessive doing that. It's disliked to put yourself in a situation where you possibly could swallow the water and it's not necessary to do it. You could have made the proper wudu without doing all of that. So they say it's disliked for the putting it in the mouth and for the sniffing of the water. It's then shout into the nose. Or they'll say also just rinse my mouth out real quick. Why? Because you put yourself in a situation where you could possibly swallow water. Now you gotta worry, is my fast broken? I was doing this, right? They say it's dislike to do that. Like, so generally those things that enter the body or enter the throat without the intention, it's not under a person's power, or they're not intended to do it. Even if I was making wudu, the person was making a ghusl at home after Dhuhr, and they're making wudu, they're making a ghusl. I'll leave that off. As long as it's not intentional. He says, now, in this case, the issue is, when do we break the fast? He says, وَإِنْ أَكَلَ وَنَحْوَ الشَّاكًا فِي طُلُوعِ الْفَجْرِ صَحَّ صَوْمُهُ. Whoever, they're home or wherever they're at, they eat suhoor, right? They have some doubt. They have some doubt in, did the fast begin yet or not? Number one, when does the fast begin? What time do we start fasting?
The adhan is pronounced. Maybe Fajr, but that's someone.
Fajr?
When you distinguish the white, is the line in the two.
When you see the light, that's the textbook answer.
No.
Yeah, when you see the light, when you see that white thread. Anybody know what the white thread look like here?
No.
Huh? Okay, if you don't know, if we don't know what the white thread look like, then how do we generally know when the fast starts? Huh?
The adhan.
Either we hear the adhan of Fajr, but we most likely, a lot of us, we're home at the adhan of Fajr. So how do we know when the fast starts?
The time.
What time? Based on what?
Schedules.
Schedules. That's how we, unless you hear it to mention when they call the adhan, or you're in the area where you can hear the adhan being called, generally we going off schedules, the times that we use all year.
The birds work.
Right? Birds. So now, the question is, at the adhan, does the fast begin? At the adhan of Fajr, or when we complete Salat al-Fajr?
The adhan.
The adhan of Fajr. Not at the end of Salat, not after we pray. When the adhan of Fajr goes off, we can no longer, the fast begins. Now, we gotta be honest and serious with ourselves. Right? We use these times all year round. Right? For the adhan and all that. So we depend on these times like that all year round. In Ramadan, we depend on the same times. Is it wise to go all the way to the extent when we know, in reality, the adhan on my phone is 2 minutes after the adhan on your phone? The adhan on your wife's phone always comes in 3 minutes after the adhan. So which one y'all gonna use?
One that came in first.
What's safer?
The one that came in first.
One that came in first. Do we know exactly which one is 100% right? No, we're not, and it's not something we should play with. Oh, that's your joint. I'm going with mine. Right? And then you go to the masjid and you say, well, all last week, is this what happens? They say, well, all last week I found out that the adhan was really 3 minutes earlier. Like, come on. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing to play with. If it's the morning, we know, all right, the prayer schedule say 5:01. Right? It's no harm in stopping at 4:55. It's not going to hurt your fast, right? It's not going to hurt your fast. But for you to go to, well, my phone says 5:03, so I'm going with this one. Then, you put yourself in a gray area, right? So now it comes to the issue. For example, the adhan is at 5 o'clock in the morning. He says, "In akala nahu shakin fi tulul fajr sahha sawmuhu." So a person is eating. They're in the house having suhoor, or wherever they are having eaten, and they have doubt. They have doubt. Did the adhan of Fajr go off or not? They doubt. Yes.
I got a question about that.
Hold on. The adhan is at 5. A person got doubt if it's 5 o'clock or not, or if the adhan went off. Okay. Does the fast count or not? They're eating. Now it's 5:02, for example. They're eating, and what happens? They have doubt. Is it Fajr yet or not? He says what? And this is important. وَلَمْ يَتَبَيَّنْ لَهُ طُلُوعُهُ. But let's leave that until the last part. He has doubt if the adhan went off or not. He says what? He says sahha, that his fast is correct. His fast is correct, and they don't have to make it up. Lima, why? The asl is that the time, the origin of that time is that it's what? Huh?
Fajr, you weren't sure.
He wasn't sure. So the origin is that Fajr didn't come in. That's the asl. It's still nighttime. I can still eat. I'm not sure if it came in or not. I'm sure that it's nighttime and I can eat. That's why I'm eating. I'm having suhoor because it's not time for Fajr. In order for me to know that I have to stop eating, I need something. Right. I need something with certainty to change it. That what? All right. Then it's Fajr. He doesn't have that. They have doubt.
When you look outside?
Maybe he couldn't see. Buildings blocking it. My view, you know what I'm saying? Maybe, for real, I don't even know what I'm looking for. The new Muslim, somebody that's their first Ramadan, I don't know what I'm looking for. Or somebody been Muslim for 10 years. They don't know because they don't do that every year. That's not their, they don't go out looking for anything. They don't know what to spot. I'm eating, the time comes, and what? I got doubt. The origin is that it's still nighttime. I can still eat. But they make a specific situation. وَلَمْ يَتَبَيَّنْ لَهُ طُلُوعُهُ. As long as it doesn't become clear to that person that no, it was Fajr. Right? It becomes clear later that no, you ate too late. No, you ate past the time. Well, I was eating and I didn't think, you were still eating? Yeah, well, no, the adhan went off 10 minutes before that. It becomes clear later, that's a different situation. We're talking about the person who doubts if Fajr came in and is never corrected. Nobody ever comes and corrects them and say, listen, you ate after the time. Nothing was ever clarified. But if somebody comes to you and clarifies, listen, I saw you yesterday, you were eating. When I saw you, it looked like you were still eating. Yeah, I was still eating because I wasn't sure if Fajr came in. Well, yeah, Fajr came in 10 minutes before that. I was at the masjid. I just came out to the car to grab something. And you were sitting in the car drinking water, right? He says, yeah, because I didn't know if the adhan came in. No, the adhan came in. Once that clarification comes, they have to make that day up. Clear? That's the qaida. There's nothing, the mistake, the clear mistake doesn't take any precedence over the reality. The reality is you ate past that time, you didn't fast the whole day, you have to make it up. Was it a mistake? It was a mistake. Is a person sinful? It's not a sin, it wasn't intentional. But the reality is they didn't fast that entire day. As long as it doesn't become clear. I'm sorry? As long as it doesn't become clear, they don't have to make it up. When it becomes clear and somebody corrects them, it becomes clear, then they have to make that day up. Clear? Everybody with me? On the other hand, لا في غروب الشمس. Not the issue, that's not the same when the sun is going down. طيب? Meaning, we fasting. Right? And brothers do this a lot. All the time. You in the masjid, where they're going to call the adhan. And they're using the phone adhans that are not mundabbit. They're not all on the same time. His adhan goes off at 6 o'clock, his goes off at 6:01, his is 6:03, his is 6:05. Whose is correct? And we're in a place where the mu'adhin is going to call the adhan so that we know for sure it's time to break the fast. And if we're wrong, it's on that mu'adhin. Right? The brothers do it all the time. Mu'adhin late, I ain't. Mu'adhin, he ain't eating lunch, he whatever. They be playing. Hasten to break the fast. The hadith says, rush to break the fast. That's what the hadith says. And that's what brothers are supposed to rush to break the fast. But you're supposed to rush to break the fast when? When you're sure that it's time to break the fast with certainty.
You're in the place where you're sure.
Right? You're in a place where it's yaqeen, it's sure. It's somebody already called you that. Mother's right there. He could be standing by the microphone. I seen brothers, the mu'adhin is standing by the microphone waiting, and he'll break his fast in the back of the masjid. They playing, it's in, and then he's telling others, it's in. Right? When you got certainty in front of you. So he says, La fi ghurub ash-shams. Meaning, it's not the same for the person. It's not okay. The fast is not okay for the person who eats with doubt that the sun went down. You're not even sure if the sun went down. You're going to eat? How do you break your fast, or how do you eat something or drink something? I don't care if it's a date, water, fruit. How do you eat something without certainty that it's time to break the fast? Clear? Because the asl of that time is that it's the daytime. It's a time for fasting. So the origin is that it's not time to break the fast yet until we have what? Certainty that it's time to break the fast. So if a person has doubt, they have shak. Is it time to break yet? No, I'm going to just break. No, you can't just break. That's not the origin. The origin is that we keep fasting until we have something clean, clear. It's time to break. Because in reality, the applications on our phone are not clear cut. If there was, they'd be all on one time. But we all know yours could go off and another one goes off. Sometimes they go off 8 minutes later or 8 minutes earlier. So they're not really accurate like that, especially if you're in the masjid. طيب. He says, that person's fast would be broken if they did that. If they weren't sure that the sun went down, their fast would be broken. لأن الأصل بقاء النهار. Because the origin is that it's still daytime until we know for sure that the sun has went down in this time for Salat al-Maghrib. طيب. He says next one, اعتقد ليلا فبان نهارا قضاء. He said if a person, they were eating something, and they really thought that it was the nighttime. They really, not shak, they didn't have doubt. They really thought that it was nighttime. And then it becomes clear that it's the daytime. Or the opposite. You with me? They were what? He said they believed it was nighttime. So they're in the house, they eating suhoor, and they really think that it's not the one we said before. Is it Fajr yet? I'm not sure it's time. No, it ain't Fajr. We still got plenty of time. I'm sure. They really believe that it's still time to eat. And then they come to find out that what? The adhan was already called. That they ate past the time. He says, what? Qadha. They have to make up the fast. Why? What's the reality of the situation? This in, which means what? They were eating during the day of Ramadan. Which means they didn't complete that day of fasting. That's the reality. Was it an intentional? Was it sinful? The reality is they didn't complete a full day. The fasting starts at the adhan of Fajr. Not when you finish everything on the plate. You might not be finished. It might be food left over on the plate. And they call them the adhan for Fajr. Now people say, well, what about, can you eat what's in your hand? Huh? Can you finish what's in your hand? We gotta be careful. Don't go grab something when you know the thing already, you're gonna go grab. Like, this is for Allah. Allah knows I intend, let me grab this water, and or we just walk around with something. As it gets closer to the time to break fast, we just put a bunch of stuff in our hands. This way, if the adhan go off, like me, it's not for the, this is for Allah. We can't be slick, right? No, not at the adhan. Well, specifically, if I'm drinking something like this, specifically, not, I'm sitting there, we talking, the adhan goes off, and I say, well, damn, let me grab this real quick. No, the fast started now. Gotcha. Now, when you eat, that means there's a portion of the day that you didn't complete a fast. And that's what they're saying. The same thing applies here. If a person eats that day, the reality, even though they thought it was the reality is they didn't complete that day of fasting. طيب. Which is not like the other situation. طيب. The next fasl, من جامع في نهار رمضان ولو في يوم لزم إمساكه أو دبر فعليه قضاء والكفارة. The next issue is relations, being intimate, intercourse during the day of Ramadan. During the day. That whoever has intercourse, sex with their wife or the wife with the husband during the day of Ramadan, or because in this issue, this is not the discussion of the permissibility of these things. If a person does this during the day of Ramadan, sex during the day of Ramadan, what's the hukum? Because a person, may Allah protect us all, they may have the idea It says, he said your wife. So if this is not my wife, then it doesn't hold the same application, doesn't say that. Al-jima', intercourse in general during the day. And he mentions something specific. He says, lazimahu imsak. Even if they did that, they have to refrain the rest of the day. And this is a specific case because intercourse during the day of Ramadan holds a penalty. It's not just you got to make the day up, you have to pay a penalty with it. And this is the only thing that breaks the fast that you have to pay a penalty on top of making the day up. Intercourse during the day of Ramadan. So he says, lazimahu imsakuhu, number one. And he says, secondly, o dubrin. Even if, it doesn't mean it's permissible. Even if a person has anal sex, which is haram. It's a curse on the one who has anal sex, as the Prophet ﷺ said. He cursed the one who has anal sex, even if they did that. Right? Not saying that it's okay. Even if they said, well, this is not technically a problem, whatever they're trying to do. Even if that's the case, the same rule applies, that they have to refrain from eating the rest of the day. They have to make the day up, and they have to pay a kafara. They have to pay a kafara, a penalty, where they have to feed people. And the kafara will come later, the penalty. We'll just call it a penalty for now. Tayyib. So those are the three things mentioned. Imsak, because the other ones previously, it was only two. Qadha, imsak, refrain from eating the rest of the day and make the day up. Here, they got to refrain from eating the rest of the day, make the day up, and they got to pay a penalty, kafara. طيب وإن كان دون الفرج فأنزل أو عذرت المرأة فالقضاء فقط. He says وإن كان دون الفرج ولو عمدا. He says, let's just call it fondling. دون الفرج, right? فأنزل. Then he says, number one, they have to just make it up. Meaning, there's no kafara for the fondler. There's no kafara, but they still have to do what? They still got to make the day up. Clear? أو عذرت المرأة. Or it says, if the woman is excused. How would the woman be excused from intercourse? What gives her an excuse? Her menses? La. She had intercourse with a person, with a man. What gives her excuse?
Her husband forced her upon her?
Forced, she was forced maybe, right? طيب. It says كانت معذورة بجهل أو نسيان أو إكراه فالقضاء واجب فقط. There's no kafara for the woman who's what? As he says, maybe she's a new Muslim, and he mentioned bijahl. They don't know. She didn't know you couldn't do that during the day. Number two, nisyan. She forgot. And it's argued. There's argued. Can a person, they say the man, they differ. Can the woman forget? Possibly. Can the man forget? They say no. It's an issue of argument about forgetting. You forget you fast and Allah musta'an. More importantly, ikrah, if she's forced, that will give her an excuse of what? Not of what?
Not making it up.
Last, she got to make the day up. She didn't fast.
Punishment,
Paying the kafara, the penalty. That gives her an excuse for not paying the penalty because she was what? Forced in the intercourse. She still has to make the day up. Because she has an excuse, does that necessitate? Does that mean the man has an excuse?
No.
La. That doesn't mean he has an excuse. That means he would still have to refrain from eating everything the rest of the day, make the day up and pay the penalty. But if she's forced, she's still got to make the day up, but she doesn't have to pay the penalty. طيب. He says, كَمُسَافِرٍ جَامَعَ فِي صَوْمِهِ. Like the traveler who had intercourse while they were fasting. طيب. He says, وَإِنْ جَامَعَ فِي يَوْمَيْنِ فَكَفَّارَتَانِ. If a person had intercourse on Monday, right? Then they had intercourse on Tuesday. They have to pay what? 2 penalties. Each day is a separate day of worship. First kafal, that was for yesterday. You came this day and did the same thing as another penalty, right? And intercourse is the only thing that holds the penalty with it in this chapter. The things that break the fast, they don't hold kafala, obligatory kafala. This penalty is obligatory, except for intercourse. طيب, he says, وَإِنْ عَادَهُ فِي يَوْمِهِ فَوَاحِدًا إِنْ لَمْ يَكُنْ كَفَّرَ لِلْأَوَّلِ. If, مثلا, for example, the man and his wife, they're in the house, they had intercourse at 12 o'clock before the right? They got to pay a kafala. They broke the fast, they had to refrain the rest of the day, and then they did what? They have to pay the kafala. They have a penalty connected to it. طيب. But remember, they didn't pay a penalty. They didn't do anything. They had intercourse, right? They go pray, come back, whatever the case. Later on, they have intercourse again on the same day. Huh? How many times they had intercourse?
Twice.
How many kafalas?
Twice. 2.
1. Why? It's in the same day? Because it's in the same day, it's only 1 kafala. Huh?
So what salat they, what salat is happening?
Like, it was Dhuhr, then after Dhuhr. Before Dhuhr and after Dhuhr. Huh?
Alright, so what the person trying to take advantage of it? Like, alright, well, we already did it. Might as well run this day on through.
Listen, that's between number one, that's between them and Allah. Because it's a pillar, and it's from the major sins not to fast without a valid excuse. Because you broke your fast, whether it was accidentally, intentionally, that's not a valid excuse. Like, it depends on the situation. Every person's gonna be held accountable for what's in their hearts with Allah Jalla wa'ala. People looking, we don't know. You might have really forgot to eat, you might have really meant to eat, right? He could have really forgot, was asleep with his wife, and he might not have, he might have really knew what he was doing. طيب. So, they had intercourse before Dhuhr, and then they had intercourse after Dhuhr. Twice in one day, which means how many kafalas? Why? 1 kafala, good. It's 1 penalty, but it's not because it's the same day. It's 1 penalty because, huh? La. 1 penalty because he never paid the first penalty. He never paid the penalty. So he did the same act, which carries the same penalty. He did the same act twice without paying a penalty. The difference is this: if they had intercourse, he paid the penalty. Then they come back and have intercourse again, he got to pay another penalty in the same day. You with me? The first one, they had intercourse, he didn't pay anything. Then they end up having intercourse again without paying anything. It's only 1 kafala for that. But if he has intercourse with his wife or with her husband, he pays the kafala, he pays the penalty. Then they come again to have intercourse in the same day. He got to pay another one in the same day.
So how much is the penalty?
The penalty, we're going to get to that in specific.
Oh, okay.
We might not get to it today though, because it's time to pray. We'll start with this. He says, وَمَنْ جَامَعَ ثُمَّ مَرِضْ أَوْ جُنَّ أَوْ سَافَرَ وَنَحْوُ لَمْ تَسْقُطْ. The one who has intercourse during the day of Ramadan, and then they do what? They get sick. They get sick. Can a sick person break their fast? Yeah. They have intercourse and then they get sick. Or they have intercourse and then they lose their sanity. The one who loses their sanity, they gotta fast? La. Or they have intercourse and then they fast. They have intercourse and then they travel. The traveler gotta fast, he can break his fast. Oh, that's sister. Thought you was talking about sister. Malish. If they do that, if they have intercourse and then they travel, they have intercourse and then they get sick, if they do these things and after they have intercourse, they have these excuses to break the fast, the kafara, the penalty doesn't drop off. They still owe that penalty. Why? It happened before they had a valid excuse. Before they had a valid excuse, the penalty happened before they had a valid excuse, so it doesn't drop off. And lastly, وَلَا كَفَارَ بِغَيْرِ جِمَاعٍ فِي نَهَارِ رَمَضَانِ. There is no penalty like this for anything else besides intercourse during the day of Ramadan. Meaning for eating during the day of Ramadan, there's no penalty you have to pay. Not drinking, not all of the other things that was mentioned. The only penalty is for intercourse during the day of Ramadan. We'll stop there. Any questions? Sisters got questions?
Yeah, they got questions.
Well, that's a side conversation. Sisters, Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, she said she moved. She want to know where she moved at.
Oh, I don't know about that. We'll stop there. We'll stop there, inshallah. Any questions? طيب وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه وسلم.